Hello, everyone. Welcome to, well, it's actually going to be month 3 and 4. Yes, you're going to do 2 months this month for your Fair Isle block of the month. I hope you've been having fun. I hope your blocks are turning out great. You know, if you have any questions, you know where to find me to get some help. This month, like I said, we're going to do month 3 and we're going to do month 4. Month 4 is one set of all of those flying geese blocks that you need to make. So that'll give you some time to work on those. You can work on them a little bit at a time. The fact that you're making 4 at a time is going to make that process go so much faster, and you're going to love the results because your flying geese blocks are going to turn out perfect. So, but we're going to talk about that in the second part of our video. In the first part of our video, we are going to talk about month 3. So month 3, you're going to need, again, your rapid fire Lemoyne star ruler. I hope that you have not forgotten how to use this from last month. You thought you were going to do it and then you'd never have to think about it again? Nope, you're going to use it again this month. You're going to make some different sized Lemoyne stars, and you're going to do a couple of different combinations, and we're going to talk about those in half a second. But I will show you again how to use the ruler in this video, and hopefully your stars are turning out just great. So let's get started. This month you're going to cut, starting with fabric 3. You've got 4 different fabrics you're going to cut. Fabric 3, you're going to cut 10 3 3/4 inch strips. Okay, and you're going to set those aside. Then you're going to cut fabric 11. This is fabric 11. Fabric 11, you're going to cut 7 2.5 inch strips, and then one of those strips you're going to take and you're going to cut it right on the fold. So one of these you're just going to take and cut. I don't even have a big enough scissors. You're going to cut one of these in half on the fold. I can't even get my little scissors in here. Here we go. So one you're going to cut on the fold. Ready? Set those aside. Then you're going to cut fabric 13, and you're going to cut 7 strips at 2.5 inches wide. And again, you're going to take one of these. Come on. Can't even get a hold of it. Oops, that's the wrong side anyways. Here we go. Take one of these, cut it right on the fold. Just one. Not all of them, just one. Okay, that was fabric 13. Fabric 17, you're going to cut 3 strips, at 3 3/4 inches long, and one of these you will cut on the fold. Trying to get that right there. Just like that. Then you're going to cut 4 3.5 inch squares, and you're going to cut them in half diagonally. So this together with this was a 3.5 inch square. Cut it in half diagonally. So you end up with 4 triangles. Okie dokie. This month what you're going to be doing is pairing different ones of these fabrics up together to create your Lemoyne stars. I'll kind of just hold this up so you can kind of see, and then we'll talk over it. You're going to make Lemoyne star number 1, and that will have these 2 fabrics in the center as your star points, and this fabric, fabric 3, is going to be your outside. And so that will be going around the entire outside of this. You will be making 8 of these blocks. Then you're going to kind of make these 2 half stars. You can see that half of it is going to be, the background is going to be your purple, and the other half is going to be your background 17. So when you look at these, they're the same, but they're different because they're kind of a right and a left-handed thing, and they're not divided all the way through as a, you don't have a diagonal line going all the way through. This little square here and this little square here is your purple. So that's kind of different. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? But it's very simple. I'm going to walk you through it, and it's going to be very easy. So we're going to make 4 of each of these squares as well. So the first thing you need to do is pair up your fabric. And I was having kind of a hard time figuring out what fabrics go together to do what. So let's kind of go through that. And that's what these numbers are at the bottom to help you figure that out. So when you make strip set A, you're making 2 strip sets. Your first strip set will be the fabric 3 and the fabric 11. You're going to use 5 of these strips and make 5 strip sets. So I'm going to pop this apart here, and I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the purple, and I'm going to pair them up with, over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my fabric 11s. Okay, those 2 are going to go together. Then I would mark these strip set A, so you know that these are strip set A. Alrighty? I'm going to set those aside for right now. So that's why it says 5 under here, because I need 5 strip sets. Alrighty? Then we're going to take fabric 17, which is your background. I'm going to take 1 and a half. Remember, we cut this on the fold. I'm going to take 1 1/2 of these strip sets. Move that down there. And I'm going to pair it up with 1 1/2 of fabric 11, which is the green. So here's my half, and here's 1. So 1 1/2 of fabric 11 is going to match up with 1 1/2 strip sets of fabric 17. So these are going to go together, and this is going to be the second part of your strip set A. Ready? That you're going to set aside. Next, you're going to take 1 1/2 strips of fabric 13, which is this guy right here. Here's my half, I believe. Here's my half. Here's 1. You're going to kind of see how this is going to work. 1 1/2 of fabric 13 with 1 1/2 of fabric 17. Those 2 are going to go together. Okay. Then I'm going to end up with, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to end up with 5 fabric 13s, which I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fabric 13s left, and 5 fabric 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 fabric 3s. And I kind of have these 2 left over, guys. Those 2 we're not going to use. So we're going to set this. So that's going to be the second part of strip set B. So strip set B uses fabric 13 for your star points. So you're making, oops, put that back on there so I don't forget what it is. So here's my dark background with my star point. Here's my light background with my star point. Then on this one, we're going to use strip set A. Will have the dark background with the green star point. And the second part of strip set A will be the light background with the green star point. Now you're going to sew these strip sets together exactly the same way that we did last time. So I would sew all of these together and mark and just keep them separated as strip set A, strip set B. So I would go through and sew all of these together. Remember that when you sew these, you're going to take the wide background parts and you're going to start 3 3/4 inches down when you're sewing those together. So remember my little trick of taking, where's my end here? There it is. Of taking my strip, folding it down, and then starting my strip set right below where I folded it down. because you need 3 3/4 inches from the top on all of these, just like this. So I'd fold that down, start it right under that, and that's where I'm going to start sewing my strip set together. Before you go and sew these strip sets, I kind of want to go over and make sure you understand what you're sewing together and how you're sewing them together. So these 2 strips here, these are strip sets A. If you look at your instructions, these 2 strip sets are these 2 strip sets, strip set A. These 2 strip sets are strip set B. It's really hard to tell how to sew these together because we kind of have a right and a left kind of thing happening. And I found that to be the instructions to be very confusing on that. I wasn't sure which way they're supposed to go, how they're supposed to go, who's going to go with what, all of that type of thing. So these, just in a row, you're going to have 5 of these. They're going to be pressed toward the small, oops, nope, I'm lying, toward the 3 3/4 inch strip. Remember to fold your strip down, and that's how far down you're going to start. Alrighty, this is your first strip set. You'll have 5 of these. Then you're going to do 1 1/2 of these, and that's this strip set right here with fabric 17 and 11. Remember that you'll fold this down. That will tell you how far down to start sewing, and you're going to press toward the big white wide strip. So your smaller strips are going to be to the left, your wider strips are going to be to the right. That's for strip set A. Now as we move on to strip set B, they're still right in a row. You're going to have 1 1/2 of these, and this is 17 and 13, but this time your wide strip is going to be to the left. Your narrow strip will be to the right. You will press toward your narrow strip on this one. So strip set B, you press toward the narrow strip. The wide strip is to the left. The narrow strip is to the right. Again, you're going to fold your little top, you're going to fold your little strip down to decide how far down you need to start. Alrighty, make sure when you press these that you make a nice pressed flat seam. I had a lot of lazy pressers in my class, and I sent them back to the ironing board to make them press those nice and straight and flat. And I think you'll find that if last month you didn't do that, that you had some problems in getting things to latch up nice, getting things to lay nice and flat. So make sure you use a little best press and press these seams nice and flat. So back to strip set B, 1 1/2 strips of this. The wide strip goes to the left, narrow goes to the right. Fold your strip down to know where to start. Press toward your narrow strip. On this one, again, the wide strip is to the left, narrow is to the right. Fold your strip set down to know where to start and press toward your small strip. All right, get that done. Come back, and then we're going to layer these. If you remember, we're going to take an A and a B and layer them together and then start cutting our strips. So now you have your strip sets all sewn, beautifully pressed and laying together. So to lay these together, what you'll do is you'll take, this was strip set A and strip set B, and I laid the 2 together with the 2 purple backgrounds together. And then I've done the same over here with my cream background. So I have strip set A and strip set B laying right on top of one another. The wide background pieces are to the top, right? Stripping across the top. I have 1 1/2 strip sets of these and 5 strip sets of these. So you're gonna do a lot of cutting this time. Now, the first thing we want to do then is to cut these down to 2 1/2 inch strips. If you remember doing that last time, you want to make sure that you have your top, your wider piece up across the top with that extra strip coming out this way. We're going to take the Lemoyne Star ruler and we're going to line this edge up right with the line that we stitched. Then I took my 6.5 by 12.5 inch ruler, which is just, I really like this ruler for this project because I can hold on to this. I can really get my hands on this, and it's just wide. It's wide enough to go across both of my strips, and it just is easy to hold and easy to cut with. So by laying this ruler, my Creative Grid ruler, up against my Lemoyne Star ruler, when I cut this edge, I'll have a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to come just a touch farther over, like this, and I'm going to make my first cut. There you go. This we're going to discard and move the Lemoyne Star ruler out of the way for a while. I'm going to kind of slide these guys back. Now I'm going to cut 2.5 inch strips all the way down my strip set. So I'm lining this edge of my strip set along the 2.5 inch line on my ruler and cut. And I'm going to do that all the way along this strip set. Just kind of lay those like that as I go along, because as you remember, we're going to do a second cut here in a minute. So off I go, trimming all the way down, kind of making sure that my seams are lining up as I go along here. Just kind of flattening that out. And 2.5 inches. When I get all the way done with this one, I will then do the same with that strip set. Now we're ready to do the second cut on our strip sets. So I have the cream background with the green and the blue, and I have my purple background with the green and the blue. So now it's time to do the second cut. So I'm going to take each one of these, and I kind of lay a few of these out in a row. Let's kind of slide those back up out of the way. I'll lay them out in a row so I can kind of just pick them up and go for it. So I'm going to take these. If you remember right, we're going to line up our ruler. I kind of line my ruler up with the top. Like I'll pick one of my lines on my ruler, line that up right along the top of my strip set, and then come right straight down to my seam line here in the corner. And then I will make a cut. And I'll set these triangles off to the side and these off to the side as I go along. And I'm going to cut all of these just exactly the same way. Come over so this lines up with that little corner point. This comes straight across. And you can see like this one, I have a little bit extra here. It didn't come right to that corner. On this one, it came right to the corner. That doesn't matter. Remember, everything is bigger and we're cutting it down smaller. So later on, that's not going to matter at all. So I get all of these little guys lined up and continue to go straight up and trim. Just like that. Every single one of these. Here, I'll do one of these. These are exactly the same. Line up one of my lines with the top of my strip set there, and then come right down to this corner where the stitching is on the green. So actually a little bit easier, I think, to see with this one. Line up my line up across the top, come down to my corner point there, and trim. I'm going to do that with all of these little strips. So once you've done that, come back and we'll start to assemble. Now that you have all of your strip set cut into your 2.5 inch strips and you've made your second cut where you cut off your triangle, you're ready to sew these triangles onto your little strip sets. So you're going to be sewing the triangle onto your little strip sets, purple to purple. So I have a purple background and a purple background. We're going to make 48 sets of these. Yes, 48. It's okay. It's going to go quick. When you get done with that, they will look like this. Alrighty? 48 sets of those. So you can see your star points. 48 sets. 40 of these, 40 of these. Yes, I know. You can do it. It's okay. Then we're going to take our cream background And to the cream background, we're going to add the cream triangles. These you only have to make 12 of. So 12 sets of these. When you get done with that, it will look like this. 12 sets. Now for the tricky part. You're going to take 4 of the purple backgrounds, and there's your star points. Then you're going to add you're going to add cream triangles to the purple. So you're going to have a cream background and a purple background together on one of these little blocks. Now, way at the beginning, we cut, I think there was 3.5-inch squares and cut them in half diagonally. So this is where you're going to use those, because you're going to remove the purple, set those aside, you're not going to use those, and replace them with the cream background. Now, when I sew these, what I do is I find the center of this little edge here and the center of the edge of my triangle. Put a little tick mark, just finger press a little tick mark in, match up my tick marks, and that's how I line them up to sew. So that when I get done sewing, I have a little bit extra on about the same amount on each edge of that seam when I'm done. Because remember, we're going to trim all of this down, and that's actually going to be your next step. So when I finish this, let me talk about pressing. So I'm going to end up with 4 of these guys where I have a purple center with a cream background. Now when I press these all exactly the same. The triangle gets pressed toward the green, away from the blue. On these guys, exactly the same. How do I have this backwards? Oh, I have it goes this way. There we go. That's how it's backwards. The triangle goes toward the green, away from the blue. Here's the same thing. Toward the green, away from the blue. Because later on, we're going to kind of mix and match these. So if they're all pressed consistently, when we lay these all out together, all of your seams will nest and they will line up beautifully. So go and do that, and then we will be ready to, if you remember, cut these down using the Lemoyne Star ruler. So go and do that, and yeah, it'll take more than a minute, but go sit down, relax, get everything lined up, and just stitch away. You'll be done before you know it. So now that you've got all of these stitched and ready to go, now we're going to trim these down. So what we're going to do is make our center point beautiful so that when we line these up together, they will line up nicely and nest. Alrighty, I feel like I have a big bump or something going on here. Okay, so we are going to take the ruler and lay it the right way. That's what it was. There we go. We're going to take our finished block size, our unfinished block size is 8.5, but our finished block size is 8. So we're going to take this 8-inch little V that you see on here, and we're going to line that V up with the line on our seam line right here. So line up the V and the V together. Then we're going to take and we're going to trim this. Oops, it moved a little bit. Put some grippy on here if your ruler is, and I'm kind of doing this backwards. So we're going to trim those down just like that, each and every one. So we're going to line up the V on the ruler with the V that we sewed right on that 8-inch. Let me get that on right on as close as we can. There we go. Trim and trim. So keep going. You're going to trim all of these and get them all nicely stacked up, and then we're going to start sewing our blocks together. So start trimming. I have all my pieces cut, trimmed, and ready for the next step. We're going to look at our instruction sheet right here. So we're kind of going to take all of these and kind of use them as puzzle pieces and put them together as shown on our instruction sheet. So the first one that they show for us to do are a purple background total purple background and your two different colors of your blue and your green star points. You're going to make, yes, 40 of those. Sew those together, right sides together, 40. So what I do is I stack up 40 and 40, take them over to my machine and sew them together. These will nest very nicely together, so I get that to nest together first and sew all the way down, 1/4 of an inch seam all the way down. So I will make 40 sets that look just like this. Then I'm going to take the cream background and my green and blue star point, put those together and make 8 of those, just like it shows on your instruction sheet. Then I'm going to take, I'm going to do a cream background with the blue, with a purple background and a green. And we're going to make 4 sets of those. Then we're going to do the opposite. We're going to take a purple background with a blue, and as long as you can see that, purple background with a blue and a cream with the green, and make 4 sets of that. Now it really gets fun. You're going to take a purple background with a cream on, and you're going to match it up with a purple background, just like that. Now you're going to do kind of just the opposite, where you're going to take your purple background with a cream triangle and match it up with a purple background with the blue. So I'm going to go and sew one of each, sew all these sets together and come back and show you all the different sets that you're supposed to have. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different types and different numbers of each. Some you'll need 4 of, some you'll need 8, and that first one you'll need 40. So, all right, I have all my little different combinations all put together, so let's kind of go through them and you can see what they're supposed to look like for real. I'm going to slide those out of the way a little bit. All right, so in order on your instruction sheet, first I'm going to have 40 all purple background. Then I'm going to have, I can't get it, here we go, 8 with all cream background. I will have 4 with cream on the left, purple on the right. Then we're going to do the opposite. 4 with purple on the left, cream on the right. Now we have 4 with all purple, cream on the left, cream triangle on the left there. And the last and final one, 4 where I have a all purple and cream on the right. Now I'm going to take all of these that I've made and I'm going to make 3 different style blocks. So now you can see where you're going to kind of use that one where there's just 1 cream and 1 purple, that kind of thing. So you're going to make 8 blocks where it's all purple. So using the all purple ones, you're going to make 8 of those. Then you're going to make 8 where you have purples here and with your cream there. I'm going to actually make these and show you what they look like in the end. And then you're going to kind of do an opposite where you have that whole purple square down there and a whole purple square up here. And that's going to be done by using these little guys right here. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that's going to work and I will be right back. So you're going to make 8 of these, 4 and 4. Then all we have to do is trim them down and we'll be ready to go. You have finished month 3. Have you finished it? I hope you have. And now you're ready to start your flying geese for month 4. These are going to go fast and easy and they're actually going to be fun. Yes, flying geese can be fun. So this is what we did last month for month 3. We made 8 of these stars, 4 of these stars, and 4 of those stars. So I hope yours turned out beautiful. You can see that I have a 1/4 of an inch from my point down to my edges on all of these, and they're going to sew into the quilt just beautifully. So I hope you had fun with this and your blocks turned out great. Now you're going to learn a fabulous way to make flying geese blocks. You will not believe how fast and easy and fun this is. So let me tell you what you have to cut first of all. So this month you're going to take and you're going to cut, I have all my little pieces all ready to go here. You are going to cut 2 5.5-inch squares from each of the following fabrics. Fabric 4, fabric 5, and this kind of goes all in order, and these are hard to get, it's hard to see the difference between some of these sometimes. Fabric 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then, yes, we're going to skip one. We're not going to do 11. We're going to do 12. So this is, oops, Marley's coming to check things out. You have to move out of the way. People can't see their fabrics. Come on over here. Come on. Come on. You're in the way. Move, 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 move. Okay. So this was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. All right? So that's, I'm kind of letting these sit up here so it's easy to see and number your fabrics. Okay? 2 5.5-inch squares out of each. Cut really quickly because I kind of layered my fabrics on top of one another and cut several at a time. Then you're going to cut 3-inch squares. Why don't you come over here? 3-inch squares. And you are going to cut, where'd it go? 64. Yep, 64. I'm going to set this right here. 64 3-inch squares. Yeah, 64. But, you know, you can layer 2 3-inch strips of fabric on another and cut straight through those, and you will cut through that, and you'll get through 64 pretty quick. So 64 3-inch squares of fabric 17 and 5.5-inch squares of the rest. Then you will be also need your, where'd it go? Where'd it go, Marley? Are you standing on it? You are. You will need your wing clipper ruler when you're done, but not until you're done. All right. So now once you do this, you're going to be ready to start sewing your your flying geese blocks together. Okay. Well, she can lay there while we're doing this. I don't think she's going to be in the way right now. All right. So first thing you're going to do is take your square, and on diagonal corners of your square, you're going to put one of your 3-inch squares on one corner and a 3-inch square on the other corner. Take your Quilter's Magic wand and lay that diagonally from point to point and draw a line. Right? At that point, you're going to go, oh, and what I do is I set up like all of my 5-inch squares on my table, hopefully when Marley's sleeping someplace else, otherwise she'll mess everything up. But I'll get them all laid out with my squares and my lines drawn, so then I can just feed them through my machine. Once I do that, then you're going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of the line that you drew. All right? Go over, and I'll sew all of them. And then I'll come back and you're going to cut on the line that you drew. So you'll end up with 2 pieces that look like this. All right? So when they were together, they kind of look like that. Alrighty? Easy so far, right? You can do this, right? You can do this. All right. Then I'll cut all of them, and then I will go over to the ironing board and I will press them so it looks like a heart. Doesn't look like a little heart? So because you're going to be loving this. By then you're going to be loving this. And you still kind of look at it and you go, I don't understand how this is going to become a flying geese block, but it will, trust me. So press your seams, press your little triangles up. So you can see that my seam goes up in the back here. Press them all exactly the same. All right, Marley, you're going to get pushed off of here in about 2 seconds because you are totally in the way. All right. Now onto the 2 hearts that you have, you're going to add another 3-inch square right in this corner. All right, on each one, right in the corner. Draw a line diagonally with your Quilter's Magic Wand. Move your cat. Okay, draw a line with your Quilter's Magic Wand. So 1/4 inch on either side of the line that you drew on both of these pieces. What's going to happen is once you cut that and you flip this over, oh, it's a flying goose block. It's so exciting. Look at how quick and easy that was. All right, even making a whole bunch of them, this is going to go super fast. So I drew a line, sewed on either 1/4 inch on either side of that line, go over and cut on the line that you sewed. So you will end up with, yep, you're going to end up with 4 kind of kittywampus, because look at, they're not perfect, but it doesn't matter because we're going to trim these down using the wing clipper next. So here are the 4 flying geese that you end up with by just doing those few simple steps. So fast, so easy, very little, no waste. And they always call this method the no waste method because you're not trimming off and losing that little triangle that's in the corner. Some people sew those together and make a quilt, you know, those types of things, but really, I never seem to have time to do that. So 4 flying geese blocks, bada bing. We're going to use the wing clipper. I'm going to go to the overhead camera and we'll show you how all that works. All right, now we have our flying geese block, all kind of kittywampus. We've got, like, you can tell, like, look at how that edge does not line up with that edge. I've got all kinds of things sticking out, but in 2 seconds, this is going to be the most beautiful and the most perfect flying geese block you have probably ever made. All right, these blocks are going to be cut down to 2.5 by 4.5 inches. So using my wing clipper ruler, I'm going to look for the 2.5 inch marking, which is right there, and my 4.5 inch marking. The other thing that I'm going to look at is this little X that's up on top. So I'm going to line up the corner of my 2.5 and my 4.5 right along my seam line that runs down here. So you can see one here, and you can see how I have that lined up there. And when I do that, you can see just how perfect that little top lines up on to, there we go, onto the point of my flying geese block. I'm going to come along, oops, now I moved it, that's okay. All right, we're gonna slide that down. That's gonna fit right there and right there. All right, now I'm gonna hold it a little bit better. I'm going to cut up this side and over the top. Oops. Let's not move it every time I do this. A little grippy spray works great on this. So let me get this one more time right here. All right. My camera is kind of in the way. That's not helping me out here. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to flip my block upside down. And I've trimmed this side and this side. So now I'm going to trim this and along the bottom. So I'm going to lay the 4.5 inch along this edge, the 2.5 inch along the bottom. Now I'm going to come back and trim again. Here and here. Now in the instructions for your ruler, it tells you what size, you know how we started out with a 5.5 and a 3.5? If we were making a different size, we would start out with a different big size big square and a different size small square. But the instructions tell you what size squares you need to start out with in order to come out with the right size flying goose block. Because that's always the tricky part, is kind of translating what you're supposed to make into what they want you to cut. So let me do another one for you. So here's my little flying geese block. I'm going to line up the 4.5 and the 2.5 kind of at the bottom of my little block so that this point lines up right there. That point is lining up on my seam right there, and my top is pretty close. I might just rearrange that just a little bit so everybody's kind of lined up. Use those 3 points and get those all kind of nicely lined up. Then I will cut up one side and over the top. This one didn't need much trimming. My cutter's getting a little bit dull here. Then I'm going to flip my block upside down. Line up. I've trimmed this side and this side. Now I'm going to trim the right and the top. I'm going to line up the 4.5 inch and the 2.5 inch along the bottom. And here again, I can kind of line up my little TP down there. And we are going to hold this in place so it doesn't move. There we go. And now I can trim up the side and along the bottom. And look, another beautiful flying goose block. You can see I have a 1/4 inch from this point to that one. That's not going to get cut off. Going down my edge, these little points die right into the corner, just like we like it. So you have quite a few to do, and I think you're going to have fun, and it's going to go really quick. So if you have any questions on how to do this, you get confused, give me a call, email me, stop in by the store, and I'm always willing to help you figure out your ruler and figure out how to cut things. So I hope you have fun with this. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.